Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legacies. If anything, you can think of this as either a part 2 to my thoughts on the season finale of, which is episode 116, which premiered March 28th, 2019. Or you can think of this as a post-season 1 follow-up questions thing. So I am recording just over 24 hours since the finale has aired. So huge spoiler alert as well. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what questions that were spurred from the events of the finale. If not, you can always check out my live reaction to the actual episode itself. The only reason I'm doing a separate video is because that reaction was getting too long to begin with. So if anything, if you're just here for the questions, then just be fully aware of the spoiler alert I'm going to cause. I might have mentioned some of them already in the live reaction I had, but this is after a full day of just thinking about it, more questions coming, really ruminating in those and stuff. So again, huge spoiler. If you haven't seen the season or the finale, please go do so first, then come back and see what questions I may have spawned from. Otherwise, my other video reminders still stand, and they are in on screen right now. Also, this is just to brainstorm, see if anyone else maybe has an answer to some questions that I had, or maybe it's some viable questions you have with going into season 2. So I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes. It's quite a few questions, actually. I mean, like, if you see my reaction, you know, like, the last, like, maybe 15 minutes of the episode really had me very emotional. So I'm going to try the clock. Let's start right now with those random questions from the finale. First one, who thought that my possession theory was more viable than what happened to Hope? Because, okay, so first off, if you haven't seen my video, I did have at some point in the finale thought that maybe they would go down the route of having Malivore possessing Landon, and then it was more going to be reminiscent of when the whole body possession thing was happening in season 2 of the originals, during a brief time in season 4, episode 1 of the Vampire Diaries, and even with season 5 of the Vampire Diaries with Silas, how like one greater entity was put in the body of another, and then kind of fooling the other characters into who they are. So I thought that was kind of what they were going to go towards with Malivore possessing Landon after revealing that he is supposed to be the meat suit. Just because the way that the episode ended with apparently the Malivore pit being destroyed, I mean, it's an empty crater now. It just seemed like that can't just be it. With all the buildup that we had about this pit and what's supposed to happen when the 3 keys are returned to it, it just seems so much of a buildup, and then to have nothing come out of it, I just feel like it's either something else is going to happen and we're just completely unaware. Like, maybe it's not truly gone, but maybe it's no longer an oozing mess. Or maybe I don't know. Or maybe I just like my possession theory because that means we would still have hope. Even though Landon would kind of be trapped inside his own body. But still, we'd still have hope instead of me being left to wonder, well, where the hell is she? Which we will get to that in a moment. I have a whole section just dedicated to Hope sacrifice. So we'll get there. Okay, next question. Do you believe that the students should keep Alaric as their headmaster or get someone new? I honestly think the students could not get anyone better than Alaric because he is just as invested in the school as the students are because of his own children. Like, he built the school with the goal of providing a safe space for his daughters to grow up in and to be protected and to understand where they come from. I don't think you'd get anybody else like Alaric as headmaster than him. So I hope they vote for him to stay. I know that it would prove a better storyline if they didn't have him and they brought someone else new in, and they kind of show Alaric's struggle that way of not being in charge of the school anymore. But then, I don't want a new face in charge of the school, which is something Alaric has built from the ground up. If you were to bring Caroline in, then okay. But, you get what I mean, right? So there's that question there. Also, another question. Will we dive more into the Gemini Merge original storyline in Season 2? Or in the future seasons of Legacies? Because again, with the twins being 16 now, they have 6 years of their life left to try to figure out a way out of the merge. So I'm very excited to when Josie, because for a long time I've been wondering, why would the merge be an issue for the twins if there's no Gemini coven, therefore no need for a leader role to be filled. But when Josie mentioned the fact that it's the actual curse on the original Gemini twins that resulted in the merge, I've been very invested in figuring out, well, where did that curse originate from? How did it come to be what it is now? How could they get rid of it and such? So I would be excited to see that be more fleshed out. I hope it's not a rush job, but I definitely want to see something coming from that. So there's that. Okay, so now it's the part of the questions that deal with Hope's sacrifice in particular. So I got some questions that need clarifying. I got some prediction questions and stuff like that, so just bear with me. So the first question from this section is, if Malivore, or the golem, was meant to erase the existence and memory of those it consumed, why did that work for Hope if her very existence was meant to counteract its purpose? The only reason I ask that is because with that mindset in mind, I would assume that once she fell into the pit and all that ooze was disintegrated and it actually just turned back into mud and with no magical properties, I thought Hope would just still be in the pit afterwards. Like, if anything, I thought if she were to go in, because right now it's black goo, right, with these magical properties where it would consume this being, right? I thought once she falls into the Malivore and her blood gets consumed by it, then the magical properties are released from the mud, and it's just going to be a mud pit where she would slowly emerge as if she was a phoenix rising from its ashes. I thought that was what was going to happen. Not the fact that all the goo inside that pit is now gone, leaving an empty crater with no hope in sight. So I'm wondering, just how is it possible, like, why is it possible for Hope to have needed to sacrifice herself in order to negate the magic that consumed her? Right? Because I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I hope you're understanding where my question is coming from. I just don't understand why she wouldn't still be there after the destruction of the pit. Which also brings me to another question, which also ties into that, which is, what happens to all the beings that were inside Malivore when Hope supposedly destroyed him? I mean, like, what happens to Saga? What happened to Ryan? I would assume if the golem was destroyed, then all of his other clay creations were destroyed as well with him, like kind of like the bloodline thing with the vampires. So I'm assuming that. But like, what happened to Saga since she was in Malivore? What happened to all the other creatures, all the other humans he ended up consuming over the past millennia? What happened to them when Hope supposedly destroyed him? Also, with that question in mind, is it possible that what happened with the Malivore pit and what happened to Hope, could it be very similar to what happened with the Phoenix Stone back in season 7 of the Vampire Diaries? If you remember, the Phoenix Stone was something Reyna Cruz used. It was attached to the Phoenix Sword. And when it stabbed a vampire in the heart, the soul of the vampire would get sucked into the stone. So creating its own hell and everything, right? But once the Phoenix Stone was destroyed, all the souls that were trapped inside the stone were released into the nearest bodies that were on the verge of death. They would take possession over that. That's where we got to Ambrose possessing Stefan, how Stefan ended up possessing a mortal that was on his deathbed. That's how Florence was able to possess Joe when Alaric thought he was when he thought that he was reviving Joe, but instead he released Florence's soul from the stone and put it into her body. So I'm wondering, if the Phoenix Stone, when it was destroyed, released all the contents inside of it, I'm wondering if the same thing could be said about the Malivore pit, and how once it was destroyed, all the creatures inside of it were spit out, essentially, and put into the world. So I'm wondering if that's the case. If that does happen, then there could also be the fact that once they got spit out, they could deal with their own memory loss. they would have to figure out how they're going to fit into a new world that maybe they haven't been a part of for a very long time. They had to figure out how to assimilate themselves back in when everyone else has forgotten about them. So I'm wondering if that's going to be something that we're going to be dealing with. Because I can see that happening too. If Hope ends up being spit out and she's like kind of has no memory, then like maybe that could be the journey of like finding yourself again. But also another option is that could it be possible that the fact that Hope kind of disappeared with the remnants of the Malivore goo, is it possible that what happened to her is similar to what happened to Damon and Bonnie at the end of season 5 of the Vampire Diaries in the finale, where they had unknowingly been sent to a prison world when the other side was destroyed, letting everyone believe that they were killed along with all the other spirits that were trapped on the other side, but instead they got transported into another dimension that was the prison world, and they had to figure out a way to get themselves back to their loved ones, which was a majority of season 6. So I'm wondering if that's going to be something that Hope might have to deal with, if maybe her destroying the Malivore pit transported her somewhere to now she has to try to figure out, well, how am I going to get back to everybody? And if that's the case, maybe she's transported there with all the other beings that were stuck in Malivore, and maybe just the Malivore creature itself was destroyed, but like there's a place to carry it. So that's another option there. There's like, 3 different options I just possibly came up with, all of them having previous parallels to contend with as being possible options they've gone to. So there's that. Another thing is that whatever happened to Hope, assuming that Ryan is still alive, even though he killed his father, his creator, assuming that he survived that, does that mean that if we get Hope back, we're going to get Ryan back because she kind of put that mimic spell on him so that he'd follow whatever she did? But then does that also mean that whatever he does, she follows him? Or is it only the way that we saw it happen with her making the choices? So that's another question there, an impromptu one. Now, the last question I had for this category was, if Ryan wanted his father dead, then did he only unleash his father so that Triad couldn't have access to him and weaponize him? So that's a question there. That I'm wondering, because then it doesn't make sense how he would go through all that trouble to unleash his father, yet he would still also want his father to be killed somehow. And that's why he allowed for Hope, or he wanted Hope to sacrifice herself if it meant killing his father. So that's something there. The show is very, very messed up father relationships for all the antagonists, pretty much. So there's that. So let's move on to the ramifications of Hope's sacrifice, which is my question surrounding everybody forgetting Hope. So since we saw in the last moments of the episode, we saw a lot of people already forgetting Hope's existence. Some people I thought wouldn't have. So there's that. So with these questions come, 1, will Hope's memory be erased from Rafael, even though he is currently in his wolf form? I'm really hoping that one of the loopholes is the fact because he's in his wolf state, he's more in the wolf mindset. So like maybe like his memory of Hope or his human memory as a Hope isn't going to be affected if his wolf is the dominant one at the moment. So I'm hoping that's a little bit of a loophole. Plus also there's got to be a question of like, it's Hope's elixir that kind of has his mind split. So they got to have a question of like, how the hell did this happen type of thing, right? So there's one there. Also, we do have, will Josie wonder who gave her the necklace? The makes quiet things hurt necklace that Hope gave her. Because that, well, for one, that's a very sentimental Sweet 16 birthday gift that she got. It has meaning to it. She's got to have, currently MG has it, but because she gave it to him to use, but like she's got to wonder where that came from. Plus also I'm wondering, could that necklace be used to help communicate with Rafael as he's still a wolf? When Josie was buried alive due to the zombie Joe, she was able to be heard because I'm assuming the necklace allowed for either she was still screaming and dirt was getting in her mouth, but the necklace amplified her scream so that it could be heard, or she was screaming mentally and the necklace allowed for it to be heard. So if it's a second option, then I'm wondering if they could use the necklace to be able to communicate with the wolf form of Rafael until something happens. Because they also got to know that Hope is supposedly the only one that could turn him back. I don't know why she would be the only one, but there has to be something, right? So there's that. Also, another one is, could Lizzie remember Hope if she remembers her experiences with that genie where she had the wishes of living in alternate worlds where Hope either never entered their lives or never existed? I mean, it's still in a subconscious part of her brain. So I'm wondering if Lizzie's able to remember that, then maybe she might question, well, why did I want a world without Hope Mikaelson? Is it, who is Hope Mikaelson type of thing? So it'll be interesting to see kind of like the way the world that is now, Hope never existed. So it'll be interesting to see how Wish World number 3 blends into our world now, because Wish World 3 was as if Hope never existed. So it'll be interesting to see that. It'll be interesting to see if Lizzie's time with the genie does somehow trigger her own memories of who Hope could be. Hopefully. I don't know. So there's that. Another question. Could we see a member of the Mikaelson family returning to get answers about Hope? I mean, because as we know, photos and written documents aren't affected by this whole mass erase, or this whole mass erasing of the consciousness. Like, we do have, Landon still has hope of Saga and him as a baby. So with Hope, I can't believe that none of the Mikaelsons would realize that they're missing their smallest family member. I mean, there's paintings that Klaus had drawn of her. There's Hope's own paintings as well that must still be back in New Orleans. There has to be, I mean, Rebecca, remember in 209 of the originals when Hope was a baby, Rebecca talked Klaus into taking that selfie photo with the baby. So it's like it would have to spark something for the Mikaelsons to go, where is this girl? Why do I not remember this girl? And they'd have to investigate, like, all the clues lead her back to here. So what happened to her here? So if none of the Mikaelsons show up, because it's either going to be Rebecca, Freya, and Cole, which are still alive, and they connected it is with Davina, Keelan, and Vincent, and Marcel, right? So if anything, one of them, either Cole, Freya, Rebecca, or Marcel, have to come, because they're the ones that had a very different relationships with Hope. If anything, they'd have to feel something. I mean, I would be very disappointed if none of them came to make like a reoccurring appearance during the mystery of who is this girl, why can't we find her type of thing. So I'm hoping we get something like that. Any one of them, because like she had a huge impact on their lives. And like if Klaus, Kaylee, and Elijah were still alive, I would feel like they would feel something different. They would have to. And then they definitely, like, Klaus would probably go on out of his mind as to, like, why do I have all these paintings? He would recognize his own work. And who is this girl, though? And then same with Haley. Haley would have an internal feeling that something was different because her child is now missing. So it's like, I need to see a Mikaelson in this whole backlash of Hope being erased from existence. There has to be something. So there's that. Sorry if I went off on a little crazy thing there. So next question is, did anyone else wish that Alaric would have promised Hope that he was going to burn all traces of her and yet not go through with it? I was kind of hoping that he would tell her and then just have the box of the files he has on her and everything else she asked for him to pack up. I wish he just had it and they just stored it away instead of just burning it away. Because, like, I don't want him to forget her. I don't want all of them to forget who she is, not only as a person, but like she was one of a kind in every sense of the word. So it's like, it broke my heart that he went through with that promise. And I kind of wish he never did. Also, last thing, it's not really a question, but let's talk about the hints of Hope's existence that should still be there. We still have her blood, which is meant to be in storage of the cabinet as a werewolf cure, a werewolf bite cure. So there has to be a question of, well, where did this come from? Unless, like, Alaric could immediately think, well, we got it from Klaus before he died, but then, like, no, that's only going to fly for so long. Plus, also, Josie just consumed Hope's blood when she took it to cure herself of that Malivore mud bullet, right? So there's that there, because I don't think that was erased from existence. We have Josie's necklace, like I mentioned. We also have Rafael's reversal ring that he got from Hope that allowed for him to turn into a wolf. There has to be a question of, like, well, where did he get that type of thing? Also, why can none of us figure out a way to turn him back, right? So there's that. Also, another thing is Penelope's spy book that she gave to Josie. Now, that book copied everything that everyone at the school wrote down in notebooks, in their diaries, everything, and including Alaric's own notes. So there was a YouTuber, Nina Thorin, who made a comment on another YouTuber's reaction for the episode, Abnormally Adams. Now, I didn't even think about the spy book until I read her comment, so I'm going to give credit there. But yeah, the fact that Alaric wrote about the merge, so he must have wrote a ton of notes about Hope, and Hope knows that Alaric has a bunch of notes, but she doesn't know about the spell book, or the spy book. So, like, if anything, if Josie reads that book, she's going to see mentions of Hope Mikaelson from Alaric's own writings, or from when Landon is writing about Hope in his diary, if his entries made it in there, or about Hope's own diary entries, like when she kept the secret from Landon and stuff, right? And there's the timer. So it's like, that spy book has mentions of Hope, has entries from her possibly. So if Josie reads it and wonders, well, who is this person? And she knows what the book is copying because of what Penelope said. So it's like, this was a student, but I don't remember such a student type of thing. So that has to lead to an investigation. I can't believe I forgot that. So thank you to that comment for it. So that's another one right there. I also hope that she tells someone about it. It might put her in trouble, but at least let someone know about it. Also, photos as well, because we do know with Landon's photo of his mom when he was a baby, that one still stays intact. Nothing happens to it. And then old photos of, like, personnel files, that gets done as well. So we know photos are good. They don't get touched when this whole erasing thing happens. So I'm left. Here's the question specifically I have. How does Landon recognize that specific photo of him and his mom when he was a baby without looking at the back? Like, he recognizes immediately that that photo is of him and his mom. And I will believe that, because he just checked the back to verify. I believe it's to verify just who's in the photo. But, like, I want to believe that he saw the photo of Selah and knew that that was his mom. Even though she went in the pit after, like, already at this point. She's gone in the pit again. So he shouldn't know her. But he still recognizes who it is in the photo. So I'm hoping if he ever gets a hold of a photo of Hope, he's going to trigger that memory of, like, I know that girl. It's like, and go through all that, right? So it's like, I hope that's the case. I hope that if they see a picture of someone, then they could, at least, I would like to believe, because Hope did say, because she's the anti-Malivore thing, that she was able to remember anything related to Malivore. But I want to believe that because Landon is supposed to be the vessel of Malivore, and he's partly Malivore origin, that maybe he has, maybe the way his memory would work is slightly different, especially in regards to Hope. It's like, yeah, he forgot all of his interactions he had with Selah recently, but he still knows who Selah is. Like, he knows, like, that's his mom, right? So he just doesn't know that he met her and, like, all that, right? So I hope that it only takes a photo to jog his memory and then maybe get the investigation started. But there's that. And also, like I mentioned before, drawings, Hope's own drawings, people's own written drawings and stuff about her. She's pretty sure that she's drawn some things in the school with her name and stuff, right? So, like, that's got to be another proof of her existence there. But otherwise, that's all I could think about for what could lead to a trace of her her existence. But before I go off of that, articles have been spouting off about like interviews about the finale, and I did read an interview article from Julie Plec. I'll put the I guess the group, I'll put who wrote the article on the screen. But pretty much they did talk about or Julie Plec did talk about how like next season we will see the characters continue with their life, but yet feeling like something's missing. So they're gonna try to continue as if nothing's happened, because for them nothing has happened, but they're gonna suddenly start to feel like something is missing, and that is we're really gonna see what Hope's existence, how it impacted all the people that she encountered, and now that they don't know who she is or that she even brought this influence into their lives, we're going to see them react in ways that they may not understand, because they're reacting to something that they don't believe existed. So it'll be very interesting to see how everybody reacts to missing Hope without realizing that they're missing Hope. It's definitely going to be very reminiscent of like Wish World number 3 for me, because like with Lizzie's wishes, we got to see on varying different levels what it means if Hope was never a part of their lives on a different level. So just to see how much of a difference that makes for the characters. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to manifest in season 2. But otherwise, that is pretty much it, guys. That's all the questions I could think of at this very moment, especially after the finale. But if there's any questions that you guys maybe have, maybe you want to ask me, let me know in the comments down below. I love to get your questions, start a conversation even, and even just to speculate what is to come, because we're definitely not going to get any idea until July when San Diego Comic-Con happens. So we're going to have to wait a few months for that. So bring on the questions, bring on your own theories. Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm looking forward to it. But otherwise, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. So go check that out. I'm a little behind, but now that the shows are wrapping up for the seasons, I hope to get back into it. Also, WordPress account, link for that is down below. I read blog promos, anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but a work in progress as well. So that is about it, guys. So I do also plan to do like a monster comparison video coming, hopefully with, maybe I'll post it when I usually post a Legacy video next week. And then the next time for Legacies will be the San Diego Comic-Con stuff. So be on the lookout for that monster one. I'll probably record it now and then work on it later. I haven't decided yet, though. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next time to see what I have to say about my next Legacy video. If not, check out my other videos as well if they interest you. Please, I hope they do. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.